Call the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, February 15th, 2022 to order. I'd like to welcome everyone. Looks like we have a full house here tonight, so thank you. Madam Clerk, Commissioner Taylor is in attendance, Commissioner Carswell, Commissioner Britton, our finance manager and finance officer and county manager, deputy county manager, Margaret Pierce, our county attorney, J.R. Simpson, and our county manager, Brian Steen. I would remind everyone that if you have mobile devices, please cut the sounds off. And then if you're going to come up and speak this evening, please activate the little red button there so you can be heard. This is being viewed on YouTube, so thank you. We will now begin. I'm going to ask Reverend Dr. Wayne A. Johnson Sr. from Shiloh AME Church to lead us in our invocation. After he does this, please remain standing, and I'm going to ask our county attorney, Mr. Simpson, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised. Our gracious Creator, we come in your presence with thanksgiving, for we realize that we are better by nature than we are by practice. We ask that you would be in our deliberations this evening, for you are the God of grace and God of glory, and on your people pour your power. We ask that as we come together, that you would bless this nation, that you would be with our servicemen and women who are overseas. And we are praying that, Lord, that you would keep back war and return our servicemen and women home. We are praying for the state of North Carolina. We pray for the surrounding communities that make up Burke County. And in this meeting tonight, let justice roll down like water and righteousness as a mighty stream. For somehow we find ourselves saying, how awesome you are, our divine Creator. Bless us now, and we shall ever give you all the glory, honor, and praise, because it all belongs to you. And together the people said, Amen.
Please join me to the pledge of the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Our first item is the item number 4, approval of agenda. Gentlemen, you've had an opportunity to review this. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Madam Clerk, that's 3-1. Moving on to presentations. Our first presentation is our Pet of the Month. This will be presented by Caitlin Suttlemeyer, our Animal Services Director. Hey, Caitlin.
Hey, how is everybody? So I had the best dog to come and present this evening, but with that, he got adopted first thing this morning. So that's great for him, Mr. Vincent. So you're going to see his picture up here. He was a ham. So for our February Pet of the Month, Pearl is our little cat. She is 10 years old. Pearl found herself in our care after her owner passed away unexpectedly. So she is with a very loving foster, but we are currently seeking a new home for Pearl. She's a little shy at first, but believe it or not, this girl at 10 years old absolutely loves toys. So if you have toys, if you're looking to add a cat to your life, she loves other cats. Dogs make her a little nervous, so if you have a quiet dog in the home, I think that would be just fine. But Pearl would love to be an addition to somebody's family, so if you're interested, let us know. And like I said, Mr. Vincent, he's our next one. He was absolutely perfect, the friendliest dog you will ever meet. He went to Animal Hospital of Eastburg. Dr. Jenny absolutely fell in love with him. He was actually attacked by another dog, so his ear looks a little funky up there. He's actually got stitches in it, but this sweet man got adopted today, so that's wonderful news. But we are always looking for fosters, adopters. For the first time, this is very strange to say, I've got a shelter full of dogs right now, but I don't have anybody available for adoption. I have them there for other reasons. So, but we should have some available at the end of this week. So if you guys are in the area, I would encourage you guys to stop down, visit with us, see what we've got going on. Always looking for fosters. This is a great time to foster if you've ever been interested in it. It can be a very rewarding experience. So our address is there. You can call us, email us, however you need to get in touch with us. So those are our furry friends of February, and as you know, Vincent got adopted. So, but our animal enforcement team, we wanted to provide you guys with a little bit of an update on what these guys have been into. Recently, over the last few weeks, we've had a large increase in animal welfare complaints. So we went and answered a call at 4274 Bollinger Gap Street for an animal welfare check. We got news there may be some deceased dogs out there on the property. This is what we came to find. The first night we were out there, we ended up taking 8 dogs that were located on the outside of the property in deplorable conditions, no access to food or water. We took those guys in for safekeeping, and we posted the property to see if we could get in touch with an owner. Came back out the next morning because we were concerned there were animals locked inside of the house that we could see through a window. They didn't have any access to food or water. They were in feces. So we were unable to make contact with the owner. The property was still posted the next morning. So our enforcement team, we worked diligently to get a search warrant. We were able to get a search warrant, and we ended up going into the home and seizing 12 more animals out of that home that were just in completely deplorable conditions. The vet's actually down at our shelter right now checking everybody out. And there were 3 more dogs roaming on the property that we're still working on catching. We caught 2 this morning in traps that we set on neighboring properties, so there's still 1 more we're trying to catch. And then, but we still haven't been able to speak with any owners about this situation. So we've been working on this case. We really had to get these guys out of that situation, so we had to act quickly. We did not want to leave them in there over the weekend by any means. So we dealt with that. Our next group we've been working on is actually Cape Hickory Road. These people are incredibly nice. They're just in over their heads. They have 37 dogs located on their property. They are feeding and they're doing their best to care for, but it's not ideal situations. They understand that. They're getting a little bit older. Obviously, they can't have this many dogs. So we are working with some of our local area rescue groups to go in, get photos of guys, see if we can get placement homes lined up for them. They're going to get rid of most everything, but there are 37 dogs located on this property, and it's just a result of breeding, not having access to low-cost spay-neuter within our community, so it is something that we deal with on a pretty regular basis. So we're working to help these guys out. We also have a third case that we are working. This is Miss Lady. She is from a property on McGee Street. We have been working with this property for over a year to try and get this guy's property managed, but we just keep having issues of these animals running off their property. We've had bite calls out there. We've had a dog most recently that kind of got us to the point where we are now. It attacked and killed a little kid's puppy. And these dogs are just continuing to be at large. The gentleman doesn't know how many dogs he's got out there. So we are working on getting out there and seeing if we can get these guys off that property into our care and take care of that situation once and for all, because that's been going on since 2017. And that's an update that I have. We've been very busy down at Animal Services. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Gentlemen, any questions or comments for Caitlin? Doing a great job. I will encourage everybody to please adopt or foster or volunteer your services. We could use it down there at Animal Service Center. So if you feel obliged, please volunteer.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 2 under presentations. This is a recognition of Ms. Morganton Festival Scholarship Pageant winners. This will be presented by Michelle Gregory, Director of Miss Morganton Festival Pageant. And I was going, he beat me to the punch. I was going to say you can remove your mask if you, so that's fine.
Thank you very much. I'm Michelle Gregory. I'm one of the directors, and this is Michelle Steele. She's one of the other directors out here. Thank you very much for having us. The Miss Morganton Festival Scholarship Pageant is open to any young lady ages 7 to 24 that reside in North Carolina and takes place prior to the historic Morganton Festival in August. It celebrates strong, committed women who are willing to represent our community as a Goodwill ambassador. The queens become role models for today while strengthening our city for tomorrow. So some of the things that they do is they not only promote and work with the festival as well as our community, but they also promote their own personal initiatives or platforms throughout the year, basically embracing the spirit of giving back throughout the community. Some of our queens have done certain things that you're going to hear about a little bit later here. They represent for 1 year mentoring and generously giving back to our community. Victoria Smith is our Miss Morganton 2021. Her personal community impact initiative is Tackling Hunger. And you can see up here, she works alongside the Burke County United Christian Ministries, collecting food and helping people in our community. We have Lainey Reese, our Ambassador Queen of 2021. Hers is Adopt, Don't Shop, so she absolutely loved, I know, the presentation that was just given. She works alongside local animal shelters to help feed hungry animals in Burke County and also help their forever homes with the shelters. We have Ashlyn Robinson. She is the voice for the voiceless. She raises awareness for child abuse and letting those know about the experience of abuse, know that they can have happy and successful lives after trauma. She works with South Mountain Children's Home and Family Services. Then we also have Miss Marley Johnson. Marley is our Junior Miss Morganton 2021, and she works, her community service initiative is Women Supporting Women and Encouraging Supporting Young Girls. And then we have McKenna Lale. McKenna Lale is our Little Miss Morganton 2021, and her community initiative is to give back. And she gives back with helping out by donating food and donating food and clothing drives, as well as writing letters to our nursing homes and our residents in our community. So what I would like to do is be able to offer for our girls to come up, our queens, and talk about their personal platforms and experiences as Morganton queens.
Hello, I'm Victoria Smith of Miss Morganton 2021. As previously, my platform is Tackling Hunger. I'm working with the Burke United Christian Ministries to give back to our community by raising food and everything. We've already done one project. I have partnered up with surrounding churches and my own church, and we donated throughout a whole month and was able to raise a total of 700 pounds of items and unperishable items and everything that we can give back to the community from there. So, and then upcoming projects that we can do is we're going to do days of tackling hunger that we can go as a team and prepare food and everything. So we're going to hopefully have one or hopefully more days of doing that. But thank you.
Hello everyone, everyone. My name is Lainey Reese, and I am your Morganton Ambassador Queen. My platform is Adopt, Don't Shop, and my initiative is to help raise awareness for shelter animals in my community. So far this year, I have collected over 500 canned food items for Burke County Friends for Animals. I also sold bracelets that said Adopt, Don't Shop, and it helped to raise enough money to pay for a cat to be spayed. As winter approached us, I held a blanket drive for people to donate new and used blankets or towels, and I ended up collecting about 100 blankets to help out the shelter. This past Christmas, I put up a Christmas tree at my dance studio, kind of like the angel trees you see. This way, I got some Christmas gifts for the fur babies. I will continue to accept donations for the animal shelter, and I'm currently working on setting up a pet food pantry box here in our community so people can drop off or pick up items they may need. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Ashton Robinson, and I am the 2021 Teen Miss Morganton. My platform is called Voice to the Voiceless and is focused on raising awareness of foster care and child abuse. In September 2021, I provided a hope jar to the Gingerbread House, which contains positive quotes to lift children's spirits when they come through. In October, I collected 30 pumpkins and delivered them to South Mountain Children's Home, along with a $100 donation to assist them with their Halloween party. The South Mountain community was kind enough to invite me to their pumpkin carving event, where I took treat bags and spoke about overcoming trauma. In December, I delivered 32 stuffed animals to the Gingerbread House and a $200 donation, which was spent on gifts for the children at South Mountain Children's Home. I am passionate about my platform and want to thank everyone for this opportunity to help serve my community.
Hi, I'm Marley Johnson, and I hold the title of Junior Miss Morganton 2021. Today, I'll be talking about my platform, Women Supporting Women. My overall goal with my platform is to encourage young girls around my age and to show them that they are worth more than what they see on social media. Today, social media shows women constantly in competition with one another, and my platform opposes that argument. I think that we are all drawn in a beautiful image, and no one should ever have to compare themselves to anyone else. Some things I've done with my platform so far are donate clothes that aren't very worn out to affordable thrift stores and such. Doing this, I hope that girls who can't afford clothes from very expensive stores can have a chance to get the same products at a price in their range. I've also collected change and baby bottles for the Pregnancy Care Center of Drexel to get supplies for young women and inexperienced mothers. With my youth group, we made blankets and donated them to Options, which works with women who are victims of domestic violence. I also plan to provide feminine products at my school. Closing this out, I'd just like to thank the amazing city and amazing people of Morganton for awarding me with this title of opportunities. I plan to do much more for this community in the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is McKinley Lowe, and I'm Little Miss Morganton. I want to have a food drive and a clothing drive for my community, and what I like about being Little Miss Morganton is being in parades. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And at this time, I'm going to ask my Vice Chair Carswell to come, Commissioner Carswell to come down front. We're going to, I've got some certificates to read to you, and Johnny will give out some prizes. I feel like a game show. Is this on? All right, okay. I want to present this to Victoria Smith in recognition of being crowned Miss Morganton 2021 in the Miss Morganton Festival Scholarship Pageant and for a personal community impact initiative. Congratulations. And I want to present to Lainey Reese in recognition of being crowned Miss Ambassador Queen 2021 in the Miss Morganton Festival Scholarship Pageant and for her personal community impact initiative. Congratulations. I'd also like to present Ashley Robinson in recognition of being crowned Teen Miss Morganton 2021 in the Miss Morganton Festival Scholarship Pageant and for our personal community impact initiative. And I would like to present to Marlee Johnson in recognition of being crowned Junior Miss Morganton 2021 in the Miss Morganton Festival Scholarship Pageant and for her personal community impact initiative. Congratulations. And last but not least, I'd like to present to McKinley Lale in recognition of being crowned Little Miss Morganton 2021 in the Miss Morganton Festival Scholarship Pageant and for her personal community impact initiative. If I could have the rest of the commissioners come down for a picture, please. Parents, please feel free to come up front. Once again, ladies, on behalf of the Burke County Commissioners, thank you for all your civic and charitable work. And please continue to be wonderful ambassadors for Burke County. Thank you. So wondering how Commissioner Carswell ended up with a rose. Oh, Michelle? Gentlemen, this brings us to item number 3 under presentations, briefing on release of Pisgah and National Forest Plan presented by Nicholas Larson, District Ranger, U.S. Forest Service.
Hey, good evening, folks.
Nicholas, how are you?
I'm sorry. There we go. All right, so good evening. I'm Nick Larson. I'm the District Ranger here on the Grandfather Ranger District of the Pisgah National Forest. So the lands that I cover are south of the Blue Ridge Parkway, on over to about Lenore, and over to the west on this side of the Black Mountains. The properties, the U.S. Forest Service properties that we manage in this area cover about 49,000 acres in Burke County. So that's about 16% of the county's land base. So many of the residents here rely on these public lands for everything from hiking and fishing opportunities, camping, hunting, or just opportunities to get out in the forest and enjoy themselves. Today specifically, I'm excited to announce that the U.S. Forest Service has completed its final environmental impact statement and the plan for the Nantahala and Pisgah National Forests. So this plan basically guides all of the activities happening on Forest Service lands over the next 15 to 30 years. So that's everything from where we're going to be putting new trails, what sort of watershed protection measures we have in place, to how we're sustaining our forest over that time period. There's been considerable time that we've spent listening and working with our public and partners on this plan. It's been about an 8-year process for us, so we are really, really excited to see it getting wrapped up. And we feel like it's in a really good place where it's reflecting the interest of all the communities that we've heard from. Throughout the plan, you guys will see 4 unifying themes in there. The first one being connecting people to the land, sustaining healthy ecosystems, providing clean and abundant water, and partnering with others. So I'm not going to lie to you, the plan is really, really long. There's over 2,000 pages of documentation just in this final. When we start stacking up the drafts of what's been released and supporting documents, it gets bigger. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys have a briefing in there. Really, the main thing that I want folks to be aware of is if anybody has questions about what's in the plan or how their interests are reflected in that plan, that they're welcome to give the Forest Service a call, and we can help find out where in the plan those points are reflected or addressed. I do want to give a little summary of what exactly a plan is and what's in there. So this National Forest Plan breaks down the forest into geographic areas, trying to identify unique communities and interests within those areas. And then from there, it breaks it into management areas, not unlike zoning within a county. So where different activities would be happening. There's a management area specific for interface of where the public is going to interact with the national forest. One referred to as matrix, which is more of a general national forest where we're protecting waters and taking care of wildlife habitats. There's wilderness designations, wild and scenic designations, a total of 17 different management areas or similar to zones. One of the unique things in this plan is there's tier 1 and tier 2 objectives, and essentially how those are kind of framed up is the tier 1 objectives are what the agency believes that we can get accomplished given our current staffing and current support that we have in place. Those tier 2 objectives are what we believe we can get accomplished working really closely with our partners. And as you guys know, here in the Grandfather, we've got a good history of working with our partners, whether that's the North Carolina Forest Service, emergency management here within the county and our neighboring counties. We work nearly every day with the Wildlife Resources Commission and Trout Unlimited, the Nature Conservancy, and a whole host of different non-government organizations. So just to throw some numbers out there of what those differences of what we think we can get accomplished on our own versus what we can get done with our partners, when we're talking about prescribed burning and the work that we do to reduce wildfire risk to our communities, on our own, we believe we can accomplish somewhere from 10 to 20,000 acres of burning across the 2 national forests over a year. If we're working really closely with our partners, we can raise that bar higher to 20 to 45,000 acres a year. And we've been able to demonstrate on a smaller scale here in their Grandfather where we've been able to build just that same model. Likewise, those tier 2 objectives are reflected in everything from trail work that we're doing to road maintenance to habitat improvement. This is the last and final step of this forest plan process. So right now, the final plan and environmental impact statement is out, and we are in an objection period. So this is that final opportunity for folks that have participated in this planning process to come back to us and say, Nick, Forest Service, we've been talking to you, and you didn't quite get our point right. This is going to be our opportunity to get that final negotiation out, and if everything goes as planned, we should be ready to implement the plan this summer. I'll leave it at that and open it up to any questions that you guys might have.
Gentlemen, any questions or comments?
Well, comment if I may. I think I got all my questions answered during pre-agenda. It is kind of alarming and surprising, and you have to be reminded occasionally just what this Pittsburgh Forest and Nantahala means to Burke County and the beauty of it and the tourism that it creates for Burke County. And really appreciate the presentation and the update on the information. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the county's support, and you'll be hearing from Ed here soon too, so thank you for Ed's support in advance too.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion to accept the report as presented? All those in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried 4-0. Madam Clerk. Nicholas, thank you so much.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
You too. Gentlemen, that brings us to item number 4. Our good friend Ed Phillips from TDA. He's going to give us a financial update for the year ending December 31st, 2021. for the Tourism Development Authority.
Good
Yeah, how are
evening. Thank you for having me. Before Nick leaves and runs out, just want to mention, the Pisgah National Forest is our largest public land in Burke County, and it's one of our key resources that people come here to get outside and hike, and it encompasses the Linville Gorge and Table Rock and Shortoff Mountain, and the Over Mountain Victory Trail runs through part of the forest, and the Brown Mountain Overlook, the Brown Mountain Off-Road Vehicle Area, Wilson Creek, not technically in Burke County, but still part of our area attractions, is so important to the visitor experience here. And we appreciate all that they do to keep the forest maintained. And, we've had a lot of people use the forest in the last 2 years since the pandemic started. And it's just so important, along with our state parks, is to have outdoor recreation. I want to talk for just 1 second. Last time, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we did pre-agenda, and I talked to you about a couple of things that were coming up that week. UNC TV had on NC Weekend featured the Drexel Barbershop. If you've never been down on a Saturday afternoon and seen the tremendous bluegrass performers that come in there and just, I guess they call it jamming. It's just a fun time, and they're very talented. And UNC TV picked that up and did a story on that last week. Southern Living Magazine also came out with a little article online called Under the Radar Mountain Getaways, and Morganton was featured in there, but it was also talked about Lake James State Park, Linville Gorge, and Table Rock as well. And then just a few weeks ago, the 2022 State Travel Guide came out, and every year we pitch story ideas to them, and in 2021, they featured Thermal Valley Aviation at the Foothills Airport with a big picture and talked about that. And this year on page 40, we have our infamous Brown Mountain Lights featured in here. That's the gift that keeps on giving for media, so they love to write about that. Talk to you about our financial situation for just a minute. This was through December 31st, 2021, where we had actually collected $323,242.28 of occupancy tax out of an annual budget of $600,000. And we are way ahead of our budget. Hotels are doing excellent. Vacation rentals, including Airbnb, are doing excellent. And our expenses are in line with our budget. And the balance sheet as of December 31st had $556,776.23. There are some liabilities in there. Those are payable to the city of Morganton and the town of Valdez for their part of the occupancy tax, which they draw down on a regular basis. So that's pretty much my report. Things are looking good for hospitality and tourism in Burke County for the near future. As most places are having right now, is worker shortage in frontline workers. That's impacting restaurants, impacting hotels and other hospitality venues, and that's also impacting Burke County. So be kind to your servers when you're out there and appreciate them for showing up to work. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions or comments for Ed?
Move we accept the report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All those in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried 4-0. Madam Clerk. Ed, thank you. We'll now move on to item number 5 under presentations. We're going to get a VEDIC report update on fiscal year 2020, 2021 activities presented by Sherry Long, our VEDIC chair. Sherry, how are you?
I'm great this evening. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your support. And one thing I want to say before we get started is what VEDIC is, because we know what good things they do. VEDIC is actually a nonprofit corporation that was established in Burke County in 2009, and we make small business loans. Typically, they range from $25,000 to $250,000. So that's what VEDIC is. If you see that, it's actually housed at the town hall at Valdez. They provide office space for us, but it's a small business loan program, and we invite small businesses to come and talk to us and see if we can help them grow. All right. Let's see, driving or not driving. No, I'm terrible at this. I'm so sorry. I wanted to give you an update of the loans and show you the difference between 19 and 20 and 20 and 21. We made the same exact amount of loans, which is pretty interesting. The difference is that we went from almost $600,000 to almost $1 million, $935,000. Where were our loans made? We made 10 loans in Burke County. The rest of the surrounding counties had a few. So you can see that the majority of the loans are being made in Burke County. Since the inception of VADIC, we have made 149 loans, which is almost a little over $7 million in small business loans in the region. Our default rate is 4.7, which means 7 loans out of 149. That's more than we'd like, but a lot better than most of the banks around here. We've lost $126,500. That's 1.8%. If you look at anybody's business balance sheet, if you can stay under 5%, you're really an excellent lender. So the staff at VEDIC does a great job, the staff and the loan review committee and the board, of making solid loans that benefit the community. You might remember that the Golden Leaf Foundation gave Burke County some money to start a revolving loan fund. When they initially gave the funds, that was $250,000. We have loaned, reloaned, and reloaned again those loans, and the revolving loan fund now is up to $709,481. So that initial investment of $250,000 has assisted businesses and has also grown to over $700,000. Valdez also received a small business loan from what used to be called the Rural Center. It was $125,000. That loan has been revolving and has now up to $372,000. So the initial investment of $125,000 has gone to $372,000. Minority lending, and this is something that we're very proud of. Of the 149 loans that we have made, 64 of them have been to minority business owners, which is 43% of the portfolio, a little over $3 million. We were fortunate in 2019 to receive a grant from the Appalachian Regional Commission for $100,000 to assist us in our loan providing. Of that $100,000, we've loaned out $90,000 with 9 loans, and the 10th loan is pending and should be closed before the end of next month. We also went out and applied for another $100,000 from ARC, and that loan is pending in Washington, but we're anticipating funding on that in early July. Our current portfolio, we currently have 56 loans that are on the books, totaling a little over $3 million when we made the loan. They have paid down the balance to $2.193 million, which means that the loans are active and have been paying their loans on time. Jobs created. This is always something that's really nice to see. If you look at the 805 jobs that have been created since the portfolio was established in 2009, 584, and as Commissioner Taylor told me last time when I said 72%, it's actually 72.5% of all the jobs created through VADIC have been in Burke County. During the pandemic, as all loan portfolios could have suffered catastrophic losses, we were very fortunate because of the financial position that VEDIC was in, that we made 41 deferrals of almost a little over $90,000, and all of those businesses remained open. And a lot of the times the loans were because we made small business gap loans that allowed them to wait till their federal loans came in so that they could keep their doors open and continue to pay their employees. Municipalities, we're 100% municipality supported. We do receive money for loans, and we have revolving loans, and there are administrative expenses, and we don't share those, we don't charge those to the loans themselves. Those have been supported by all of the municipalities. They have all contributed. We have a board of directors. The board of directors, as you see there, I am the current chairman. Tanya Stevenson is the vice chair, Johnny Berry is the treasurer, and Sherry Bradshaw is the secretary. These are all volunteer positions. It's something we meet once a month. We are very involved in the community, and the board members are the pulse of the board of the community and keep up with everything that's going on. We also have a loan review committee that meets before the board meetings, usually 2 weeks before, and any loan that comes into the VEDIC system goes through loan review before it can actually even be presented to the full board, and it's completely vetted, and we look at things like credit reports and tax returns and all the things that banks look at. One of the things that I forgot to say up front, and I want to encourage everyone to understand, is one of the ways you can get a loan from VEDIC is you have to be turned down by a bank. If a traditional lender will lend to you, you don't need to come to VEDIC. VEDIC supports small businesses that have great ideas and small capital. And so we're here to support small businesses grow, and the way we do that is that we help not only with the money, but also technical assistance. We work through the Small Business Center to provide work with your business performance, with what you think your sales are going to be, what we see that could be the pitfalls that you haven't looked at. We also provide some technical assistance in accounting and QuickBooks and things like that. And if the business does get in trouble, the staff, Carrie Petit and Eddie McGincy, will work with them. We have some grant funds from USDA that could actually help pay for some accounting work to be done. So we come in and support the business. We want the business to succeed. As I said, the staff is Carrie Petit, she's the executive director, and Eddie McGimsey, and then we have Chuck Mosley, who originally worked with Vedic from almost the beginning, that is still on call and helps us. And right there, you see the contributors: Burke County, Town of Drexel, Town of Rutherford College, Town of Glen Alpin, Town of Valdez, City of Morganton, Town of Hildebrand, Town of Longview, Town of Redheads, and Town of Conley Springs. So they all contribute to the success of the Vedic mission, and also help support us as far as the administrative costs that incurred, so that we can help small businesses. And I want to thank you for your partnership, and I'd be willing to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions or comments for Sherry?
I asked mine last week. I
Great
make the
presentation.
motion that we accept the report as presented.
All those in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried 4-0, Madam Clerk. Sherry,
Thank you,
thank you. Gentlemen, that moves us on to scheduled public hearings. This is where we turn the show over to Alan Wood from BDI. He's going to discuss the project, It's About Time.
Thank you, Commissioners. This one is one we have been working on for quite some time. We have a company that is looking to build a 500,000 square foot facility at the Burke Business Park. This proposed project, they do intend to build all 500,000 square feet in one phase. That $25 million number is low. We estimate this one's going to be between 35 and 40 million with the build out. And we hope that see construction begin early this summer. Their wages for the jobs over 3 years are 72, over 5 years are 100. They will pay above county average wage. It's expected these jobs will pay roughly $42,000 each. They will take lots A, B, and C. You were provided a map in your package. It's most of that main pad at the business park at the end of the cul-de-sac. It's roughly 23.6 acres. We estimate the value of that based on the land costs as we have it listed to be about $944,000. What we are asking is that the incentive for this project be the value of the land. That way, as soon as the building is built and hits the tax rolls, you will be beginning to receive the full tax payout on it at that time. So there would be no other local incentives that would defer those taxes. So they're close to picking a contractor. A lot of work going on behind the scenes, and we think this project is going to move forward. So be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments for Alan?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one. I asked most of my questions the last pre-agenda, but Ellen, you said you were going to present it, I think, to Morganton and Valdez and our other partners. Did everybody agree? Is everybody on board?
I've been to Drexel, Rutherford College, and Valdez. They are all approved. I'm at the City of Morganton on March the 7th. The timing just didn't get me there this month, but I have presented to them in closed session, and so they will have it on their agenda on March the 7th. So then I would have all of the partners would have heard the presentation, and I suspect, I hope that they would support this as well.
Very good. Amen. That's great. No other question?
Well, if there are no other questions, I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone present that would like to speak to this item? There being none, I will now close the public hearing. Gentlemen, you've heard the presentation. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the conveyance of 23.6 acres, lots A, B, and C at the Burke Business Park to Project It's About Time, and authorize the county manager to execute any related documents on behalf of this board.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that's 4-0. Okay. Alan, we'll move on to item number 2, building reuse grant for Project Bravo.
Project Bravo is a local business that has been in the community for about 6 years now. They are looking to do a project expansion. We've been working with them off and on for that 5 years, trying to find the right fit. This project will create 25 new jobs, paying on average $62.5 thousand per job. They will pay the insurance for their employees. We've asked for, and it will be taken to the Rural Infrastructure Authority on Thursday the 17th for a $200,000 building reuse grant. This was also on the City of Morganton's agenda to ask him to split the match. That will be $5,000 each, as is generally the process when we have a municipality on one of these grants. In addition, there is one North Carolina grant that has been approved by the governor's office. There was a press release on that last week, pending approval of this, of the local match, which would be from Burke County and the City of Morganton. This is estimated to be a $4.1 million of capital investment. Based on that estimate, the county's match portion over 3 years on 50% of the new tax base would be roughly $42,742, with the City of Morganton's match over that same period with that same percentage being roughly $35,000. So that this does require a match for the for the 1NC grant. So therefore, we would be doing a local grant based on the new tax base. Nothing previously would be counted. So it would be based on the tax value that is established with this tax year, and then payment would start in the following tax year. So it's a good, as I say, it's really good paying jobs, good strong company, and we've been looking for quite some time for a project that fits for them.
Gentlemen, any questions or comments? Rylan? There being none, I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone here and present that would like to speak to this matter? If not, I will now close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the recommended local economic development grant equivalent to 50% of the taxes paid on the new taxable investment of approximately $4.1 million for 3 years and the creation of 25 new jobs, to approve a contract between Burke County and Western Piedmont Council of Governments for grant administration subject to a grant award, and authorize the county manager to execute the contract on behalf of the board. To approve a general fund balance appropriation of up to $5,000 for an economic development incentive for Project Bravo for the local grant match pending notification of a building reuse grant, and to approve the related agreements for building reuse grant and a 1NC grant, and authorize the chairman to execute them on behalf of the board subject to grant awards. And that would be resolution number 202203.
Gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. That will be 4-0. Madam Clerk? All right. Alan, we'll move on to building reuse grant for Project Highlander.
Okay, and for the trifecta this evening, Project Highlander is once again a building reuse and a 1NC. This will be creating up to 100 new jobs, paying above the county average, roughly $44,000 per job, and they do cover health insurance for their employees, which is a requirement for any grant we do locally or with the state. It's a $200,000 building reuse. The city of Morganton is the applicant on this one, but Burke County will be asking to provide one half of the 5% local match. There's a $250,000 1NC, which requires a 25% local match, and that will be supplied by a similar local grant based on the new tax base created, which is estimated to be about $5.2 million. So the county's portion for that 3-year period would be roughly $54,200. The city of Morganton over that same period would be $44,460. This one, due to some quirks with the system, probably won't go through rural infrastructure and the governor's office until a little later, but we have to do the 1NC, and it has to be approved prior to going with the building reuse, and the timing just didn't work. So the announcement on these probably won't come down from the governor's office and from rural infrastructure until March or in April. But there's not anything out of the way. It's just the timing of the whole process. So, but it's a good company. There'll be well-paying jobs, and it's a very, very stable company.
Thank you, Alan. Y'all heard the presentation. Any questions or comments? There being none, I will now open public hearing. Does anybody here wish to speak to this item? There being none, I'll now close the public hearing. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the recommended local economic development grant equivalent to 50% of the taxes paid on the new taxable investment of approximately $5.2 million for 3 years and the creation of 100 new jobs for Project Highlander. I also move to approve a general fund balance appropriation of $5,000 for the local grant match pending notification of a building reuse grant award for Project Highlander.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. All those in favor of the motion signify with the uplifted hand. Motion carried 4-0, Madam Clerk. Adam, thank you for all your good work.
Thank you for your support on these. We can't do it without you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, we'll move on to informal public comments. Madam Clerk, before we get into the public comments, I will remind each speaker, because I think we have many speakers signed up.
Mr. Chairman, on that last motion, there was an additional provision that says to approve the related agreements for a building reuse grant and a 1NC grant and authorize the chairman to execute them on behalf of the board subject to the grant awards. You need to include that in your motion as well.
Mr. Chairman, I amend my motion to include, that wasn't on my document, so I amend my motion to include that.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the amended motion signify with the uplifted hand. Thank you, JR. I will remind the public that we do have many speakers lined up. Adhere to the 3 minutes. 3 minutes to speak. I would ask each speaker to state their name and address for the record. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I would call on Mary Safford.
Good evening, gentlemen. Mary Charlotte Safford, 426 Bost Road. I took my first post-Civil War Southern history class 45 years ago. Since that time, I have studied and taught and spoken about all types of different history, including Southern history. Because of that, I must address the belief that these Confederate monuments in North Carolina were only put up so that people could honor their Confederate ancestors. To understand perhaps the primary reason those monuments were erected, you must understand what was going on in North Carolina in the 1890s. A successful white supremacy campaign had been waged primarily against black citizens, and it was successfully won by 1900. And that is exactly when the big wave of Confederate monuments were erected in North Carolina, 1900 to 1920. Black men had been given the right to vote by the 15th Amendment, and during Reconstruction had exercised those rights as Republicans, the party of emancipation. But by the late 1870s, violence and threats had crushed most black political participation. But in the mid-1890s, the Fusion Party came about, which was a combination of the white Populist Party and the black and white Republican Party. And they were able, joined together, to have enough power to gain control of the General Assembly and elect a governor. The white Democratic Party at the time was horrified, and in response began the white supremacy campaign. Two primary elements: propaganda, vile, racist propaganda and lies about black people. They were either violent and going to attack your white women, or they were too stupid and incompetent to wield any kind of power, let alone governmental power. To spread this propaganda, racist cartoons and editorials in newspapers, white supremacy clubs established in every single state, and Burke County had several of them. Of course, this ultimately led to the coup of the Wilmington government, the race massacre of Wilmington, in which countless black people were murdered or run out of town. First successful coup of a democratically elected government in our country's history. With an effective campaign of white supremacy and violence, they crushed the Fusion Party and won the next election in a landslide. By 1900, they put in the nail, the coffin of black political and civil rights, which would not change until the 1960s. This included the poll tax, the literacy test, the grandfather clause, and Jim Crow laws. The Confederate monuments, soon put up in prominent public spaces, as in Morganton, were primarily erected as a way to celebrate that victory and basically say to the black citizens of North Carolina, we may have lost the Civil War, but we won the war against you. And people who spoke out against this were threatened, or worse, by armed white men. I can only imagine what some of our citizens felt when they saw armed white men gathered without authorization or permission around our Confederate monument in the summer of 2020. If that is not a threat to public safety, I don't know what it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stafford. Madam Clerk.
Jessica Howells.
My name is Jessica Howells. I live at 2470 Mountain Laurel Trail. I teach. I've been teaching all day. And because I teach, I feel a responsibility to students and to the people of this county like you do, I'm sure. So I make sure to try to educate myself about this beautiful place and about its history. Mary Charlotte's helped me. I've lived here for 32 years out in the country. I was a Girl Scout leader, a 4-H leader, volunteered at the library, and we raised our children here. When I was a Girl Scout leader 20 years ago, we had a personal history project, and the girls went to the Burke County room at the local library. I'll never forget one of the girls saying to the other, my ancestors were slaves of your ancestors owned mine. These girls both still live in this county, and they're raising their families here. The history of slavery in our county and in our country, that's all still very real. It's still very alive in the present. And the way that we tell and commemorate that history is very important to the lives of these girls and to all the other citizens of our county. It diminishes us all when we don't recognize the price of slavery, particularly the ancestors of the people that were enslaved. Their courage and resilience in fighting this institution. I recently read this book, How the Word is Passed, by Clint Smith, and it's about how we tell the history of slavery in this country. And it very clearly illustrates that the Civil War was fought over slavery. Many documents, all the Articles of Succession and the Constitution of the Confederacy of the United States all clearly show that maintaining the institution of slavery was a principal reason for the Civil War. Since the Civil War, we have had 2 world wars, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, and the Iraq War. Black servicemen have fought valiantly to protect our freedoms in all of these. Our country has had, our county, Burke County, has had many black police officers, firefighters, teachers, nurses, doctors, and civil servants. To have the biggest, most prominent statue in the center of town on the courthouse square, honoring soldiers who fought to preserve and maintain slavery, ripping our country apart in the process, is just wrong. And to maintain and protect this statue with our tax dollars of all of our citizens is also wrong. What does that say to all of these girls and all of the citizens of our county, every one of us? Please prayerfully consider removing the Confederate statue from Courthouse Square for all the citizens of Burke County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vicki Dale.
My name is Vicki Dale, 5100 Crawleydale Street. Thank you for allowing me to speak this afternoon. I'm the mother of an employee of Burke County 911 Communications Center, Passion Brooks. The reason I approach you this afternoon is to know that something is being done, that my daughter will have an environment free from harassing conduct at her place of work. My daughter is 9 months pregnant, and her health issues due to the stress at her job doesn't allow her to be here this afternoon. She was forced to take an early maternity leave due to the incidents that started on January the 18th, 2022. From January 19th to January 24th, my daughter lost 3 pounds due to the fact she couldn't eat, sleep, and continued to ask me what she had done wrong. Please note on the last text message that Brock Hall stated he knew it was not fair. Also, Mr. Hall texted he reprimanded my daughter for having the discussion with her entire staff. This procedure is from the Burke County Emergency Communications Center. On January the 19th, my daughter reported for work at 5:40 p.m. In putting her food in the refrigerator, Brock Hall walks in and says they need to talk. My daughter at that time told Brock she would prefer to speak with him with HR present. Mr. Hall hands my daughter a handout number 3, knowing the night before shifts were short and management was going to have to choose someone to come in from another shift. Mr. Hall put a supervisor on paid administrative leave so he could investigate a possible instance of insubordination. Employees working that night were subject to only having 3 dispatchers on shift, along with a call taker, which has only been employed since December of 2021, with no supervisor present. Now Mr. Hall is putting not only the officers, but the citizens of Burke County at harm's risk. Burke County is 511 miles to cover with a population of 90,000 plus and 3 dispatchers for 4 channels. My daughter has been reprimanded for standing up for her shift. She feels that no one else would have been put on leave for saying no. I had my husband contact one of our county commissioners and made him aware of some of the situation. This was on Saturday, January the 22nd, after I received an exit interview from a former employee, Lori Drone, at the Communications Center. I understand that HR interviewed several employees and contacted Lori Drone on 4 different occasions. One of my questions I have is why? If Mr. Hall and Ms. Stewart are being investigated for far more than insubordination, including a hostile work environment, are they not on administrative leave? Mr. Hall has been approached several times by my daughter and others and continues to neglect issues that involves Ms. Stewart. Mr. Hall made it clear in my daughter's evaluation that she needs to stop the spread of unverified or false information regarding coworkers, particularly when it comes to information that could potentially discredit or harm the professional reputation of others. This behavior is exaggerated when the coworkers in question is one of the superiors and could be misconstrued as a personal attack. I found out my daughter was having a tubal reversal in an attempt to become pregnant from Robert Bailey, my ex-son-in-law, and Miss Stewart's fiancé. No one but my daughter and her husband knew of this. But when my daughter approached Mr. Hall about Miss Stewart being on her computer and seeing where she was looking up reversal tube ligation, Mr. Hall failed to investigate that matter. Miss Stewart made it a point to interrupt a Zoom meeting my daughter was attending to announce her engagement to my daughter's ex-husband. Miss Stewart has, on numerous occasions, continues to slander my daughter and her reputation, and Miss Stewart is a position of management, making Burke County responsible for Mr. Hall and Miss Stewart's actions. Therefore, as a citizen of Burke County and a mother who loves her biracial daughter, I am asking for you as the Commissioner Board and the County Manager to make this right, or I will have Eternal Affairs make it right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Dale.
Paul Carson.
County Commissioners, I am Pastor Paul Carlson of Calvary Lutheran Church at 119 North King Street here in Morganton. Along with me are a few others from our congregation who will introduce themselves shortly. We were asked by the Burke Coalition for Reconciliation to make public comment at this meeting in regards to the Confederate monument in the courthouse square, and we are honored to do so. Monuments are about memory, how we choose to remember the past. They are about who gets included and who gets left out of our narratives. Confederate monuments purposefully celebrate a myth that ignores the death, slavery, and terror that took place in that time. This myth is the lost cause narrative, and is a very powerful myth, more powerful, in fact, as history will tell us, than the Confederacy itself. Still, as tempting as its power may be, the lost cause narrative is indeed a lie that promotes the even greater lies of racism and white supremacy, sins that seek to violently separate us both from God and one another. Myth is not always bad, though. Myth is a powerful vehicle that can reveal much truth in this world. For example, another myth I am reminded of as I think about the sin of racism and white supremacy is the mythical story of the sirens in ancient Greece. The sirens were monsters that seduced those who came near their island with a song. When sailors heard the siren song, their minds would be overwhelmed by its compelling verse, and they would throw themselves into the ocean. According to the legend, no one ever survived the siren song except for two Greek heroes, Odysseus and Orpheus. Odysseus kept his men alive by stuffing their ears full of wax so that they wouldn't hear the song, but he himself wanted to hear the sirens, so he had his men tie him to the mast of his ship so that he would not throw himself off as they sailed past. Odysseus' method worked, but it tormented him to no end, and it took his men a long time before they knew they could trust him again. Orpheus' method, however, is much preferred. When he and his crew drew near to the siren song, instead of allowing himself or his crew to listen to what he knew would only lead them to death, no matter how tempting it might be, he pulled out his lyre and simply played louder and better than the sirens themselves, drowning out their song entirely with his own. I can't help but think of the Confederate statue in our courthouse square in this way. All who come near it hear the siren song of racism and white supremacy. For too long we have tried Odysseus' method, but plugging our ears, ignoring it, or worse yet, actually listening to the lies of the lost cause does not help, not in the least. Commissioners of Burke County, I invite you to use Orpheus' method. We have a better song to share in Burke County. A much better story that does not lie, manipulate, or ignore the truth of our communities. Remove this monument from the courthouse square. You are our leaders, and you have the power to do so. You have the ability to overwhelm the temptation inherent within the lost cause narrative. You have the ability to tell us all the better story. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Wayne, and I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up. Gizzy.
Good evening, County Commissioners. My name is Wayne Giese and my wife Leslie, who spent 30 years at Drexel Elementary School as a teacher. We live in Wesley Drive here in Morganton now. We have 2 adult daughters. One lives and works here in Burke County. She and her husband have a boy and a girl, our grandchildren. I want to thank you for being our representatives for Burke County. I have followed decisions you have made through the years, and especially so when I served the Drexel community and the Burke County Recreation Commission. I remember serving with Mr. Taylor. I'm a proud citizen of many of your decisions and commend each of you for your service. I have lived here in Burke County since 1975, and I enjoyed a career as a vocational rehab counselor at the North Carolina School for the Deaf, and then later an additional 7 surrounding counties, all for the state of North Carolina. While at the School for the Deaf, I witnessed diversity. The color of one's skin did not appear to matter much if one was able to communicate effectively. We had diverse scouting and sports teams along with other activities. When working towards the goal of assisting the deaf and people with hearing loss achieve their life goals, I did run into discrimination on 2 fronts. The first being the hearing loss and the communication and the safety challenges, and the second, the color of their skin. I have remained silent and watchful regarding the activities related to the Confederate monument on Courthouse Square. When I drive or walk by the monument now, I reflect on what it represents, and I try to put myself in the shoes of a deaf or hearing person of color. It's caused me to lament, and to search my heart. Tonight, you hear my voice in solidarity with the other fine citizens who have spoken to you and who will speak to you tonight. For the sake of our community and the generations to come, that monument should be removed from that public space. You have heard from many here in Burke County and have observed the happenings across the USA. It is my hope and prayer that you will use wise discernment and do the right thing for the good of our neighbors. The neighbors we are commanded to love by a loving God of justice and truth. And I beg of you to continue to examine your hearts and souls. My prayers are with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Beth Spawn.
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Beth Spawn, and my address is 106 Rockview Lane here in Morganton. I am a proud resident of Morganton and a member of Calvary Lutheran Church. I'm also the mother of 5 and the grandmother of 2. I love this community that I call home, while at the same time, I'm concerned verging truly on heartbreak. Generations of Burke County children have had to grow up in the shadow of a statue that is the reminder of a time when the dehumanization of Black men, women, and children was accepted in society. As author Taya Miles has written, Confederate monuments undermine the aspirational principles of America's founding: freedom, equality, and democracy. Those are such powerful words, I'm going to say them again. Confederate monuments undermine the aspirational principles of America's founding: freedom, equality, and democracy. It's my dream that my family, friends, and fellow citizens of every color and race might be able to walk the streets or visit our wonderful town and county, not in the shadow of hate, but enveloped in a sense of civility and compassion that honors all of God's creation. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Gabe Isaac.
My name is Gabe Isaac, and I'm at 472 Bolin Drive. I grew up in Morganton, North Carolina, in the church family of Calvary Lutheran, and since I've graduated from college, I've bounced around the country, but I currently came back to North Carolina. I was living in Massachusetts when I got the call from a friend that Morganton was on the news for riots around the Confederate statue in town. When I watched the video, it broke my heart. What breaks my heart today is that the divisive statue remains. Monuments are symbols, and like any symbol, they are not just the bricks and mortar and steel that compose them. They are not even the image you see. They represent something. They evoke an emotion. They show in a very real and tangible sense what morals we value. Growing up, I barely noticed the Confederate statues. There were some old guys in history who did something, and I didn't really investigate it. It wasn't really taught to me, and so it didn't really matter. And I didn't come from a background where the statue instilled fear in me. I was ignorant of what it stood for. My world was small. My dad often says that the smaller your world, the less empathy you have. It's easy to overlook things when they don't directly affect you. That doesn't mean you should. If you expand your world, you will find the insight you lack. Now I have a greater understanding of what Confederate statues represent. They exclude and they diminish. Monuments should be erected for peace, justice, and equity. They should unite and inspire. They should not create hate or subjugation. They should not reduce our world. I implore you, expand our world, expand our empathy, and know that that itself isn't enough. Know that the only way forward is through change. And I implore you to make a change for unity and take down the Confederate statue. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Let's get our timer to reset. Nina Harding. We may have to wait just a second.
My name is Nina Harding, and I reside at 107 Falls Street here in Morganton. I was born and have lived in Burke County my entire life. I lived here during segregation, desegregation, and the integration of our school system, which occurred when I was in junior high. The only difference I noticed after integration for me was that I now had classmates and friends who had a different skin color than I had. As a child, we would come into Morganton on Saturdays to shop for the week. I remember seeing the Confederate statue when I was a little girl and not really thinking much about it. It was just a soldier holding a rifle. As I grew older and learned the history of our country, it was no longer just a soldier holding a rifle. It was a symbol of the racism and slavery the South had fought to keep. And I realized it was a constant reminder to those of a different race of the ugliness they had to endure and unfortunately still continue to endure today. I'm a Christian and truly believe we are here to treat everyone with love and compassion, not just those of our same skin color. To continue to have this statue in the center of our town does not convey that love and compassion. I have read the board's reluctance to take a stand to remove and relocate the statue. I truly believe there is a more appropriate place for this statue than in the center of our town. If the board does not want to take issue at this time, I would ask that you appoint a committee with people from both sides of the issue to meet and discuss all the options available and come up with a plan for this statue to be removed from the courthouse square and relocated. I would love to say that Burke County is welcoming to all individuals, But as long as this divisive statue remains in a place of prominence in the center of town, I don't think we can honestly say this. I would like to see the statue removed and relocated to another place. Thank you for your time and listening to me.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Gary Vogelpohl.
Good evening. My name is Gary Vogelpohl. I live at 209 Boston Road, and I'm one of the newbies in town, I guess you would say. I've only been here 11 years. We're blessed to find this community, and we love it here. I was one of those folks who was slow to catch the renovation fever for our historic courthouse square, and it was hard for me most of that time to watch those mature trees get dozed out of the way and the whole area gutted and scraped blank. I guess that's how you start over. But I came to see new possibilities for Morganton's public face. The only jarring feature, as I watched everything else develop, was the presence of the Confederate monument. And while I can accept that there may be personal meaning for some in this monument, I believe it's past time for it to find a new resting place also. This monument commemorates a mutually painful and a very costly time in our shared history, black and white, Confederate and Union. Terrible time, when we struggled as a nation with our shameful support of bondage for a portion of our community. As our courthouse square has received a fresh face through the major renovation, this lone monument stands on that blank canvas that was meant, I thought, to point our community to the future. This monument might be appropriate in a museum or a cemetery, but it no longer has a place, I feel, in our renovated and our shared public space and its history. Most sad, however, is the fiction I hear in various places about how there's no legal recourse for our community to remove or move the statue elsewhere. And I think when Richmond, Virginia, and the depths of Louisiana can find the will and the way to move or remove such monuments, I know our community can do better. I look forward to the shared conversation and the repentance that will replace the legal sophistry that has us all trapped, as it's time for a new solution. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Bill Nybeck.
William Nybeck. I live at 2262 Grandview Peaks Drive. I'm here representing Calvary Lutheran Church at 119 North King Street, Morganton. So good evening. The Confederacy was a society of white supremacy. Whites held all the power and the wealth. Blacks were owned, suppressed, and dehumanized. The engine of the economy was slavery. The sins of discrimination, systemic racism, racial fear, and hatred that we bear today are all fruits of this era. Why Jesus speaks directly to this situation when he said, I give you a new covenant, a new commandment. You are to love one another. As leaders, you have the opportunity to set the tone for Burke County on racial justice. I pray you will choose reconciliation, inclusion, and hope. Symbols of the Confederacy, by their very nature, are divisive. I urge you to move this historical statue to its appropriate place in a museum and replace it with a piece of art to inspire all residents to work together to make a better Burke. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Carla Kincaid.
Good evening, my name is Carla Kincaid, live at 1276 NC 126 in the great community of Oak Hill. Black History Month is this month, and you know, the question always comes up, why do we celebrate Black History Month? Well, we just can't start with and begin with Carter G. Woodson, for as we all know, or don't know, that includes an answer that begins over 400 years also. We have to include Black history as the history of America, and it's the history of a people whose very backs America was built on, including physical buildings, especially in Washington, D.C., including the White House and the Capitol. Black people's condition today can be traced back directly to slavery, and we just well to say the Confederacy. We can't talk about Jim Crow without talking about slavery based on the Civil War Confederacy. Jim Crow laws were any state or local laws that enforced or legalized racial segregation. It took place right here, and I'm a project of that. I attended Willow Tree Elementary School, and my parents raised us in the midst of Jim Crow. And sometimes we say as our parents, we'll question the things that we went through with our parents. And today I can say that our parents did the best they could. They were under Jim Crow law. They went through a lot of things that we could probably have never imagined and talked about. I can remember my father talking with me once about the soldiers who could just come in their house anytime they get ready as he sat on the front porch. He was only able to complete 7th grade. And back in that day, some of the people were only able to complete certain grades, and then they were in the fields. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee states that we know that systematic racism still continues. It's been the skin and fabric of this nation. It's on the backs of slavery, Confederacy, civil rights, that every other immigrant in this country can enter with rights. That was on our backs. No Jim Crow laws for anyone else who enters this country now. And I have to think sometimes, I wonder how it would have been if we didn't have that on our back. What could some of our youth have been, and what could I have done as a youth? What could my parents have been? The symbol remains in Burke County, welcome you into the county, and out of the county on the east and west quarters, displayed in the Confederate flags, which was once ridiculed by replacing it with the Christian flag and North Carolina flag recently. The symbol of the Confederate soldier, which is now even more recognizable and seems to stand taller than it did before on the new entertainment complex. It seems to yell out now, this is a town which is proud and Confederacy lives in our hearts. And we all know that's not true for everyone here. I wonder if every soldier who fought in the Civil War really knew what they were fighting for. If you had a relative who fought in the war, would he stand proud as some of you are today to continue to let a symbolism of slavery still stay not only on the courthouse, but the county seat, Morganton?
Thank you, Mrs. Kincaid.
Okay.
Thank you.
I thank you for your time, and I'll have more the next session.
Gina Walker.
So I'm not here to talk about the monument, but I am here to talk about a monumental fail that I saw in the Morganton News Herald. I was very disappointed, first off, after our county had had contract tracing, and our school district held hostage by the health director that was brought on by this board, that there was not a stop put to it. I saw one school board member take to a personal page expressing their concern, asking, because there are other counties across this state that have merged and came together with their commissioners to end the contract tracing, to keep our kids in the school. So with somebody's personal page, and it was addressed personally as a healthcare worker and a parent, I later saw within just a few days in the left-leaning Morganton News Herald that will not cover a conservative or Republican story, all of a sudden cover a Republican chair of the Board of Commissioners article reprimanding a Republican school board member that had enough cojones to stand up and bring that to y'all, which you should have done already. It sickens me that in this time of political divisiveness, everything in this era right now is in a political divide between Republican, Democrats, and even in the Republican Party. And then we have Republicans sit there and say, why are they getting called a rhino? It's things like that that just made the party look like crap. And I am saying this on my own free will as Gina Walker Bailey at 213 Colombo Street, Northwest Valdez, North Carolina. I am very disheartened to know that you took, not as a personal message, but on behalf of this board. So all four of you, actually 5 of you, because you put that in there as your position as a chair of this commission, you reprimanded your school board member. And I think that is very disheartening. And I hope your seat is gone next time it comes up.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Do we have any other further speakers?
That's all the cards I have.
Okay, I will close the public comment period. Gentlemen, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I'm going to ask our county manager, Brian Steen, to review the consent agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You have 12 items here. Burke County Public Schools presentation of financial data for the period ending December 31st, 2021. Item 2, clerk reappointment to BDI. Item 3, clerk appointment to JCPC. Item 4, clerk appointment to LEPC. Item 5, clerk appointment to TDA chair. Item 6, community development Parchief grant extension acknowledgement. Item 7, community development Jonas Ridge convenience site construction documents contract. Item 8, finance audit contract for fiscal year 2021-22. Item 9, tax department tax collection report for January 2022. Item 10, tax department release refund report for January 2022. Item 11, tax department agreement to conduct reappraisal reviews. And item 12, Western Piedmont Community College presentation of financial data for the period ending December 31st, 2021. And that concludes your consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, can we have a short description of how number 7 was revised?
Madam Clerk.
That was the one that the amount increased that was presented to you at your retreat.
On that what? Excuse me?
The amount increased. Remember, we talked about it at the budget and planning retreat?
How much did it increase, if I may ask?
Hang on a second, let me get there.
Did we approve the increase?
That was the, wasn't it $70,000 to begin with, Margaret?
believe it was 30 and went
Oh,
to
yeah, 30.
130.
Mm-hmm.
At the pre-agenda, were we made known of that increase?
It was at the retreat, which was after the pre-agenda.
Okay.
Gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
Move the consent agenda be approved.
All those in favor of the motion signify with uplifted hand. Motion carried 4-0. Madam Clerk. All right, gentlemen, we're moving on to item number 9, items for decision. Item number 1 under items for decision. This is acceptance of Golden Leaf Grant for Burke Business Park presented by Brian Steen.
Alan.
Or Alan. Alan, you want to do it? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. In support of project It's About Time and to assist with infrastructure at the Burke Business Park to move the water line to the lot lines as per agreement, we have received a notification of a Golden Leaf grant in the amount of $659,850. This grant will take care of approximately 1,300 lineal feet of 16-inch water main. This was awarded on Tuesday, or I'm sorry, this was notified of this last Thursday. A couple of the stipulations that I wanted to bring to your notice this evening. You have 13 months from the award date to complete the work. It is tied to 90 new jobs. If you remember, I said 72 jobs within 3 years, 100 within 5. So that's within the terms. And the funds are released as contingent upon attending a grant workshop, which the Deputy Finance Officer, Deputy County Manager attended today, as well as Paul Teague from the COG, executing the contract, and it's submitting a budget within 45 days, and we will be calling together groups to get that budget established within that time frame. So this is a good outcome for us to allow us to get that needed infrastructure without specifying or requiring county money or partner money as a match.
Thank you, Alan. Questions or comments for Alan?
I have none.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the $659,850 in grant funding from the Golden Leaf Foundation for installation of public water infrastructure at the Burke Business Park. Approve the grantee acknowledgement and agreement, and authorize the county manager and his successor to execute the agreement and any other documents related to this project on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Commissioner Britton. All those in favor of the motion signify with uplifted hand. Motion carried.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Alan, for all your good work. Gentlemen, this brings us to item number 2 under for items for decision, the reclassification of planning director to deputy county manager planning director. And this will be presented by our county manager, Brian Steen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you may remember during our budget retreat, there was some discussion of this. When our last planning director, who was a deputy county manager, left, we just hired for a planning director. Since that hire, I've come to the conclusion that Alan is capable of doing the work. That would take us back to our original structure of supervision with 2 deputy county managers, and I would certainly appreciate it. I've got a pretty full house just with my regular duties. Having to cover this for an extended period of time has been difficult at times. Again, I'd appreciate it. It again goes back to the same pay grade as was before when we had a deputy county manager.
Gentlemen, questions or comments for Brian?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have. Brian, I just wanted to see if we could get an idea, what kind of things will you delegate to him? What will he be handling as the assistant county manager or deputy county manager?
He will have the same department heads reporting to him that Scott Carpenter had when Scott was here, and he will supervise them. And then if anything is to the point where he believes he needs some assistance, he comes directly to me. But as far as trying to share the load, that helps. Margaret's got a number of departments she handles, and I handle a number of departments directly myself.
Has he been a deputy county manager at another location?
No, sir.
And you stated, that was another question, and you answered it in your presentation. You feel like he's qualified and can assist you in a very helpful manner.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the reclassification of the current planning director, salary grade 35, to deputy county manager planning director at a salary grade of 37.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. All those in favor of the motion signify with uplifted hand. Motion carried 4-0, Madam Clerk. Move on to item number 3, finance contract for renovation of former Burke Catawba Detention and Confinement Center. This will be presented by Margaret Pierce.
Good evening. Burke County solicited qualification statements for full-service architectural redesign services associated with the significant remodeling of the former Burke Catawba Detention and Confinement Facility into a regional long-term substance abuse treatment facility. 2 firms submitted proposals which were evaluated by a review committee in January. After a careful review of the proposals, the review committee scored the submissions and selected Hemphill Randall Associates PLLC as the firm to recommend for the project. Funding for the renovation is being provided by a budget allocation from the state. Final cost will be determined after a contract is successfully negotiated.
Questions, comments for Margaret?
Mr. Chairman, I emailed to each one of you commissioners and to Kay and J.R. Simpson and Brian Steen. I had many questions and great troubles with this item. And just to be fair to the people in the audience, I don't know that this Board of Commissioners ever discussed or approved a review committee. So who is on this committee? Who chose the committee? And does that committee live in Burke County? Secondly, in summary of information, it states, after careful review proposals, yet we never received any presentation, documentations, summary, or description of any kind of how they judged and how they reached their decision. How does a third party, next question, how does a third party get permission to do anything to a county-owned building without the vote of this governing body? It should never happen anywhere, any county. And the next question, what is the cost for Hemphill Randall Associates, and from which budget will it be paid? Is this not a true Burke County-owned building? Do we have a potential lease agreement? What are the terms of the lease agreement? Has JR reviewed and signed off on that agreement? And do you really think we should spend millions of dollars on such limited information? This is one of the greatest examples of getting the cart before the horse. And again, say to the commissioners, this needs to be removed until we can get answers to those questions and know what and why we're voting for it. Otherwise, it's a blank check to whoever, and we don't even know who that is.
Margaret, would you like to address that?
I know that there was a committee with Manager Steen, and Jeff Britton was one of the people on that committee. I was not part of that committee. It was county employees. It was an RFQ process, request for qualifications, that we do very commonly on these projects. The information was sent out. There was a mandatory walkthrough at which 11 people were present. I have the list of the 11 people.
Well, it doesn't matter, this board did not approve that. We did not approve a committee. Why did we have a committee?
I'm going to have to defer that to the manager, as I was not part of this.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think you'll remember sometime back, I had informed the board that we were looking to remodel that building and use it for a long-term opioid substance abuse treatment facility. And we've gone through the normal process that we do for an RFQ to find an architect to do that work. The review committee was myself, Mr. Britton, Scott Cook, Brian Neef, and Mark Delhunt. Again, we've done this process for other projects in the past, and what you do is you evaluate the responses from the respondents to see who you think is the most qualified for the job, and now we are here with our recommendation. And then you negotiate a contract, because architectural services are not done like an RFP where you have a proposal of a cost and evaluate the low cost that way. That's just not allowed by North Carolina state law. So again, I think there was some discussion during not pre-agenda, but the budget workshop, and we had just shortly before that done the evaluation and came to a conclusion about who to recommend this to so that we can begin to move forward. And money for the project is included by the state budget of $3.25 million, which I think I've shared that with y'all in the past. But anyways, that's where we are, and we would like to move forward if the board is so inclined. Again, if the contract is over a certain amount of money, we'll have to come back before this board for approval of that contract as well with the architect firm. So the board is involved at the normal places in the process.
Just for the benefit, and I think I've said this once before, that we presented that the jail, and before we presented it, we also presented part of the property at Broughton. And the response we got from I think, I don't want to mention the name, excuse me, but I think who you're talking to was that a jail wasn't sufficient for what they were looking for, treating mental health. And on the Broughton Hospital, the reasons they discussed was because we are at the northwest end of that entity. And they wanted a more local middle section, which would have been Iredell County, and they were looking at Iredell County. And my point to that is, since then, they have grown by several counties, but they're all the other direction. They're east or south. So I don't know what's changed. I would have if we would have been kept up to date and given the information, I would probably have answers to most of the questions, but this is really out of order for me. I cannot support a blank check, and it's out of order for me to vote for this item.
Gentlemen, any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just comment that this is part of a routine process. We're not voting tonight to build or do anything. We're simply voting to put a architectural firm in the process of looking at a design, and that'll all come back to us, and we'll have all that information to review at its appropriate time. But, and this is not a mental health facility, this is a substance abuse treatment facility that we're looking at it as a regional long-term facility. And we have, our manager has, I know, met with other county managers in the area to gauge their interest as we look forward to receiving opioid settlement funds that would be used in this facility to help treat our both local and regional folks who need these kinds of services. So I have no issue with the process that we're going down. It's the same process we've used over and over.
Mr. Chairman, when you do this in reverse, when you pass this, you are committing to much more than just the one item that they're mentioning, which is to try to get a plan or whatever for the project. So it's well, I said it best, it's a cart before the horse, and it needs to be straightened out before we vote on it. And it is not normal procedure.
Any further comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the county manager to negotiate and execute a contract with Hemphill Randall Associates, PLLC, for the renovation of the former Burke Catawba Detention and Confinement Facility into a regional long-term substance abuse treatment facility.
Gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify with uplifted hand. Those against? Madam Clerk, that's 3-1. Moving on to item number 4 under items for decision, request for senior fiscal analyst position presented by Margaret Pierce.
Thank you. During our recent board retreat, we talked a lot about grants and some opportunities that maybe we're not able to take advantage of because of staffing. And this is the position that was discussed, to create a position to work with county grant opportunities, work with our departments, get out in the community and figure out what's available and how we can best utilize those funds and bring them into the county. We are requesting that you go ahead and make this add this to our county pay plan and make it effective tomorrow, February 16th. It will be funded during the current budget year through unused funds in the current budget.
Questions or comments for Margaret?
I asked them all at the pre-agenda.
Gentlemen, what's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the addition of a senior physical analyst position to the county pay plan, and approve it effective February the 16th, 2022.
Gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 4-0. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
This brings us to item number 10, reports and comments. I'm going to turn this over to our county manager, Brian Steen, for the 2021 summary of accomplishments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As we have for a number of years in February since I've been here, we've tried to prepare you with a summary of accomplishments. Can we hold that picture for just a little bit? First thing is Burke Development Incorporated. I had 139 new jobs and $51 million in investments announced. The business expansion and retention program, continued efforts on outreach, updates, and state programs, grant opportunities and specifics related to the pandemic. They engaged in product development exploration for the county, the continuous search for industrial properties, which are the necessary requirements to accommodate projects. Just to go down through a couple of these, Hildebrand Breading. In Hildebrand, $2.2 million investment and 19 new full-time jobs, $100,000 building reuse grant. Toner Machining Technologies, $4 million investment, 30 new full-time jobs, $240,000 building reuse grant. E.J. Victor, Morganton, $2.2 million investment and 30 new full-time jobs, $240,000 building reuse grant, and Synergy Labs in Hildebrand, $2.7 million investment and 60 new full-time jobs and a $500,000 building reuse grant. You also keep back at BDI, please. Murphy's Farm Apartments in Morganton, you have 240 new units coming online. That's about a $40 million investment, as well as the new water tank there at the business park to assist with fire suppression for new industries located within the park. The cost of the tank was approximately $2.3 million and was covered by grants and matches. Next. Animal Services, 1,262 animals were adopted into loving homes or returned to their families. This is 387 more adoptions and returns than last year. Animal Services implemented a pilot trap, neuter, return program for the community. With this program, Animal Services was able to trap, neuter, and return 100 cats to their original homes. This prevented thousands of new cats from being born and saved cats who may have been euthanized. Animal Services investigated 943 citizen complaints, which consisted of bite investigations, nuisance animals, and animal welfare checks. Animal Services has continued its partnership with Northern Rescues to increase life-saving opportunities for animals. They continue to provide pet resources and supplies to community members so they can keep their pets at home. They also assisted in the creation of the Animal Services Foundation, whose mission is to support animal services and conduct fundraising activities for the new shelter and the needs of Burke County animals. And if you see the dog up in the upper left-hand corner, that is one, I believe, that was originally here in Burke County and is now living up in New York City. The dog at the top right, you can tell Angus was a victim of animal abuse and taken by Animal Services, and the picture below is a fully recovered Angus, healed and adopted. Next, please. Community development. Total building permits issued, 1,708. Total code enforcement actions, 220. New county zoning ordinance, completed the new county zoning ordinance adopted June 15th, 2021, which brought the county into compliance with NCGS 160D, rezoned about 20,642 acres of land as part of the new zoning ordinance. Total zoning permits issued, 1,319. Fonta Flora Trail acquired 14.83 acres of trail easements for the Fonta Flora State Trail and the OVNHT Trail. Began design on the Linville Dam Boardwalk and Trail. Began design on the trail crossing of Canal Bridge. Accomplishments others, 5,693 total inspections conducted, and they also created the online inspection scheduling system. Next. North Carolina Cooperative Extension, the extension agent and local beekeepers hosted a special work day to allow new beekeepers to harvest honey from demonstration hives located in Burke County Agricultural Building. There were 12 bee school students, and they extracted and bottled 10 gallons of fresh honey. Burke County 4-H put together a seasonal activities box for youth ages 8 to 12. The boxes included educational activities, instructions, and all the supplies needed to complete the assignment. Approximately 150 boxes have been distributed and gave children the opportunity to get away from screens and learn by doing. Imagine that. Also, there were 4 area family and consumer science agents that worked together to offer a series of online cooking classes. There were 98 adults participating who completed the virtual cooking school. Next slide, please. 911 began implementation of the Smart 911 system. There is an app that if you apply for it, you can put special information in about your home, if you have children or dogs or anything that you would want 911 responders to know of. began implementation of emergency fire dispatch protocols, began implementation of new Motorola Flex CAD, RMS, and JMS software, began ACE accreditation process for emergency medical dispatch, had 2 tactical dispatch personnel deployments to Watauga County for officer down and to Henderson County for flooding. Q&A training manager Chrysanda Reed was named the NC Association of Public Safety Communications Officials Trainer of the Year for 2021. They answered 49,786 911 calls. They answered 143,128 administrative calls and dispatched 149,626 calls for service. Emergency Medical Services, EMS. Burke County was one of 10 in North Carolina counties chosen to participate in the Pediatric Emergency Care Coordinators Plus program. This is an advanced pediatric training and education program developed by researchers at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill of Medicine in partnership with the North Carolina Office of EMS and funded by EMS for Children Innovation and Improvement Center. Burke County EMS, working with Blue Ridge Community Action, ensured that 50-plus children received Christmas gifts in 2021. Burke County EMS was awarded the American Heart Association Mission Lifeline EMS Gold Plus Achievement Award for continued excellence care in STEMI management heart attacks. This is the highest honor of achievement awarded and is the 6th consecutive year Burke County EMS has won this award. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Fire Marshal completed all universal and optional objectives for the North Carolina Department of Public Safety Emergency Management Performance Grant, which generated $53,752 for emergency management programs. They were awarded a $13,500 grant to host and conduct the 2021/2022 statewide swift water rescue exercise. They were also awarded a $60,000 grant to host and conduct the 2021/2022 state search exercise. They assisted with all community COVID-19 vaccination clinics, resulting in over 35,000 vaccinations. They worked with partners to develop strategies of implementing the Smart 911 RAVE application to Burke County citizens and visitors, completed transition of the former hazardous materials response trailer to the swift water rescue trailer, continued serving the DPR 8 Domestic Preparedness Region 8, representing Burke County. Mike Willis, Fire Marshal, Emergency Management Director, was reelected as the Dipper 8 chairperson through 2023. And they also secured a $99,000 grant through Dipper 8 for the purchase of night vision goggles to be housed in Burke County and utilized in the Dipper 8 region by all search and rescue and law enforcement personnel. Completed 490 inspections, responded to 259 fires, and completed 312 hours of training during the calendar year. General Services, Waste Management produced a large off-road dump truck for the landfill, which has increased the efficiency of the landfill operations. Waste Management placed signage with pictures at each convenience site indicating what items were acceptable for recycling at each container. Building Maintenance replaced 6 of the 8 HVAC units at the Burke Services Building. Building Maintenance restored and relocated the butterfly bench at the courthouse to a location more visible. Water and Sewer, Briarly Cook, and Brian Tart received their certifications as Grade C water distribution and Grade 1 wastewater collection system operators. This allowed the county to save $12,000 annually by no longer needing to contract water and sewer operator in charge services. Water and Sewer oversaw the repair of 2 major sewer line washouts that had occurred during a November 2020 storm, thus eliminating the potential of a large sewer spill. Next slide. The Health Department held a vaccination clinic at Catawba Brewing Company in October. They assisted in 15 different businesses vaccinating their employees against COVID-19. The Burke County WIC Department had over 11,000 appointments, in which 9,377 appointments were kept. They also had a total of 858 walk-ins. Burke County Health Department received an in-house rapid PCR testing machine that has assisted the health department in the turnaround time of getting back COVID-19 test results. In August, the Burke County Health Department nurses took the initiative in combating hepatitis A and administered vaccinations in various homeless camps here in Burke County. Next page. Information technology. Completed the deployment of the data center B-side at the 911 center. This provides for a disaster recovery fallover site for the primary data center at Avery Avenue. The system continuously replicates between each other so that either side can take over if a failure occurs. They completed upgrading network infrastructure at the Avery Avenue and Green Street buildings. Completed a cyber security assessment performed by the North Carolina National Guard. The IT department is now working on implementing the recommendations from the report. I worked with finance to implement credit card terminals for the health and parks and recreation department and transitioned the Register of Deeds office to a new credit card vendor. Next. The library offered over 850 programs for all age groups. Over 39,000 people of all ages attended library programs. The library drive-through events attracted over 5,000 parents and children. They received a $13,800 donation to purchase a new large format printer and scanner and to do landscaping at the Morganton Public Library. Received a $10,000 donation to purchase books. Over 40,000 in-person library visits and nearly 275,000 visits to the library's website at bcpls.org. They also became a member of the North Carolina Cardinal Public Library Consortium. Burke County Public Library cardholders now have access to over 7.5 million items from the consortium libraries. Started resources sharing with North Carolina Cardinal in July of 2021 and have averaged sharing nearly 2,400 items per month with other libraries. Over 46,000 ebooks were checked out by library users and over 950 new ebooks users came into being. And let's see. Parks and Rec installed 14,000 square feet of sod at Reed Park, which completed the first phase of converting Field 2 into a Little League field. Installed permanent foul lines on Fields 1 and 3 at Reed Park, created a gravel parking lot at Spring Park, completed several projects at the Fontaflora State Trail, resurfaced the basketball court at Simpson Park, had a very successful travel tournament season at Reed Park. The department facilitated 12 football and 26 soccer teams during the spring season. For the fall season, the department facilitated 26 football and 29 soccer teams. In addition, 144 basketball teams participated during the winter season. Next. Having a little trouble locating that one. Register of Deeds. Added a new full-time deputy Register of Deeds position. 3 staff members successfully completed training on the new electronic death record system that is being fully implemented or was fully implemented on January 1st, 2022. The Register of Deeds office has facilitated the onboarding of all physicians in the county to the NC database application for vital events and the new electronic death recording system. A new credit card system with 2 new customer-operated point-of-sale machines were installed so that staff does not handle credit cards to meet the payment card industry compliance requirements. In collaboration with the Register of Deeds Land Records Management vendor, the Register of Deeds Office developed a way to identify and track which deeds are recorded with a attorney's statement and not a tax certification stamp. The data is compiled into a monthly report and sent to the tax office with the item to collect any delinquent tax for those deeds. There was no prior formal process in place to monitor the conveyance of these properties. And also, they held an annual Veterans Appreciation Drive-Through Meal event on October 6, 2021. Veteran Services Officer Molly Eller participated in an 18-month Superior Court diversion program as a Veterans Treatment Court mentor. This program is an evidence-based modality that diverts veterans via treatment and rehabilitation instead of following the traditional punitive system. She worked together with the VTC to promote behavioral changes, foster sustained recovery, reduce recidivism, and creating lasting success for area veterans. Throughout the year, VSO partnered with the Burke County Senior Center to provide various recognition services to Burke County veterans and their families. Senior Services provides Medicaid counseling and enrollments in partnership with the North Carolina Senior Health Insurance Information Program. With 5 certified counselors, the department provided services to 885 individuals and had a savings of $394,473. With the Families First Cares and the Consolidated Appropriation Supplemental Funding, Burke County provided 29,377 frozen meals in 2021. The Frozen Meals Program is in addition to the Meals on Wheels program that provides hot home delivered meals, congregate meals, and shelf-stable emergency meals. The department provided 65,125 meals to seniors living in Burke County. And Burke County was one of only a few nutrition programs to continue providing daily hot meals during the COVID-19 pandemic without interruption of services. Due to the COVID restrictions, both the Senior Center in Burke here in town and East Burke Senior Center were closed the first half of 2021 to in-person activities. In response, the department created new interactive virtual programming to keep seniors engaged and active in home. The centers have reopened in May of 2021, expanding programming both on-site and virtual for seniors who were unable to attend. The center provided various drive-through events, including health education meals to go and arts and craft projects. Next slide. The Sheriff's Office secured a grant to purchase active shooter response bags for deputies in 2021, and after the appropriate training were deployed in 2021. The annual jail inspection results found no deficiencies at the Burke County Jail. This is the second consecutive annual inspection with no deficiencies. 2 detention officers were awarded the advanced jail certifications. This is the first advanced jail certification ever awarded to Burke County detention officers. Next. Senior Social Services, through Support Incorporated and with the assistance of Partners Health Management, Burke County DSS received an embedded therapist who provided consistent trauma-informed assessments for children. Child Welfare began working with benchmarking and collaborating with Rutherford County in creating a trauma-informed workplace. All children welfare supervisors and many foster care staff have been trained in Trauma 101. Became affiliated with Wolf Incorporated, which included 5 new drug testing facilities for clients' convenience. This affiliation also decreased the department's drug testing costs per screening. Saliva screening is now being used in the court system. As of October 2021, 64 children experienced foster care have achieved permanence through adoption. The agency's Christmas Wish program provided 250 children experiencing foster care with Christmas presents. Community participation was overwhelmingly generous and was very much appreciated. There were 14,171 participants and 7,247 cases in food and nutritional services. Medicaid claims totaling $85 million was paid to providers in Burke County. These include institutions, physicians, pharmacies, etc. And child support, which was outsourced through Veritas, was recognized for being second in incentive goals and number one in most improved in self-assessment, which was a 56.2% increase overall in the state. Soil and water. Burke County Soil and Water Conservation District presented conservation education programs to most of the elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools via Zoom, and educated students on conservation of natural resources in 2021. Adapting to the virtual program format was a challenge, but after numerous trainings, staff were able to create a virtual learning environment. And the cost share, Burke Soil Water Conservation District was allocated $98,798 from the state to implement best management practices on local farms and urban lands. These funds were used to install livestock exclusion systems, stream repair, installation of water tanks for livestock, feed pads, grass swales, grade control systems, and drop boxes and culvert pipes for a diversion project. Federal cost share programs. Through this program, Environmental Quality Incentive Program and Conservation Stewardship Program, contracts were obligated in the amount of $50,000 in Burke County farms, and projects include a litter shed and forestry land protection. And to the Board of Commissioners, gentlemen, I think you'll remember being out in the cold when we had our new signs put up to recognize that Burke County is the home of the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics here in Morganton. Next, there's a picture of you and some other folks over in Hickory when we approved a memorandum of understanding for collaboration to construct a new 12,000 square foot airplane hangar at the Hickory Regional Airport in Burke County. And Hickory will design and construct the hangar at an estimated cost of $1.2 million. And I think the last update that we had is they're expecting things to be arriving in March. They've already poured the pad, I believe, so that should be coming right along. And then we have one more, I think, at the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, the 114th Annual Conference in Hanover County, August 12th through the 14th. 2021, Commissioner Johnny Carswell was sworn in as the NCACC's first Vice President. Commissioner Carswell was also awarded the M.H. Jack Brock Outstanding County Commissioner Award, which is presented annually to a commissioner who has demonstrated special achievements and efforts on behalf of county government throughout the state and/or region, not just within their county. Commissioner Carswell received this award for his work with the Opioid Lawsuit Committee, also known as the 555 Committee. And that concludes your summary of accomplishments, and I believe we have pictures of the new water tanks that have been completed. There you go. That's from one side, and there's the other. So it's looking good, and I think they're looking to maybe try to fill the tank later this week.
Thank you, Mr. County Manager. I'd like to commend the great work our departments have accomplished this year. It was a lot, so great work. Any questions or comments on the presentation, gentlemen?
Good presentation.
If not, do we have a motion to accept the 2021 Summary of Accomplishments report as presented? Commissioner Taylor?
So moved.
Gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. Motion carried, Madam Clerk. We'll move on to reports and comments. We'll begin with our Finance Director, Margaret Pierce.
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Simpson, our County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since the last meeting of Commissioners on January 18th, I have prepared an offer to purchase for some certain property in Jonas Ridge on Highway 181. I've worked with the Sheriff's Office concerning preservation of evidence in a matter in which civil litigation might be a possibility. I have succeeded in having dismissed an appeal to Superior Court of a planning board decision. I have prepared a proposed modification to the conditional deed for the property that the county has given to the History Museum of Burke County, which would allow that organization to lease the property to third-party 501c3 entities under certain circumstances. I've completed title work on certain property on Highway 18 South and Harris Wisnett Road, and am in process of the property in Jonas Ridge. And I have assisted our insurance counsel in providing responses for interrogatories and production of documents in the lawsuit Monroe et al. Versus Burke County et al. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
No comments tonight, thank you.
Mr. County Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm glad you went ahead and approved this extra person to help with grants. I have been able to complete a grant application to Dogwood Health Trust, asking for some financial assistance to hire some planners to help us in this very large project of converting Burke Catawba confinement facility into a long-term regional substance abuse treatment facility. So that help, if we're able to get it, we will come back to the board and accept the grant, and look forward to getting that underway. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. In addition to the regular assigned committees that I'm a member of, you have the reports in your package, but also wanted to mention the fact that I attended the EMS training and information sessions, and was accompanied by Commissioners Jeff and Johnny, and also the county manager and our clerk. So we were well represented. It was an outstanding presentation. Learned a lot, and the only question remains is, one of the topics they talked about was making sure we had emergency messages posted at our public buildings, and we probably need to take a look, or let the manager, of course, take a look at that and make sure that we have those posted. And one of the things that they were real firm about is, in a case of an emergency, follow the directions. If you don't follow directions, we're going to have major traffic buildups and all that kind of thing. But again, the MS director did a fantastic job. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Britton?
Not tonight, sir.
Commissioner Carswell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to relay something to you that I found in the News Herald in the 50 years ago section. I think everybody's quite well aware. I've preached for the last 6 years about how nasty Burke County is and about trash. 50 years ago in Burke County is blessed with immense natural beauty, nevertheless has an increasingly severe trash problem, exacerbated by a lack of regulation of proper landfill facilities. County officials have taken several steps to address the problem, including the installation of trash containers all across the county, sticker ordinances for trash haulers, including commercial trash carriers. They also plan to hire a deputized sanitarian who will be authorized to arrest violators of the sanitation ordinances, including litter buckers. 50 years later, guess what? We still got the same problem.
Couldn't have said it better, Commissioner Carswell. Here's in my notes here to remind people not to litter or and secure your load, and please pick up trash. If you see trash, please pick it up, because I saw that same article and it, same problem 50 years later. At this point, I do want to, on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, extend our condolences to the Bailey family. Philip Bailey, a convenience site attendant since 2013, passed away this weekend, and he will be greatly missed. So they're in our thoughts and prayers. Please keep them in yours. And then the only report that's not in here, gentlemen, as you know, I was representing the Western Piedmont Community College in Washington, D.C. last week, and so there's some opportunities there. I met with Senator Burr's staff, Senator Tillis' staff, met with Congressman Fox, and so got some great opportunities going on at the college, which benefits the county as a whole. So, and we'll let you know going forward where those things stand. So at this point, I will move on to vacancy announcements and turn this over to Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen of the audience. We have the following opportunities for citizens to get involved in county boards and committees. The Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee. We have 6 vacancies on that committee. The purpose of that committee is to ensure that our elderly folks that are housed in nursing homes and adult care homes, that they, the patient's bill of rights is being enforced. It's a very important committee, and I would encourage you, if that's on your heart, to please consider applying for that board or committee. We have Parks and Recreation Commission, Morganton, City of Morganton Board of Adjustment and Planning Board for the ETJ, the Burke Senior Center Advisory Council, the Child Protection and Child Fatality Prevention Team, the East Burke Senior Center Advisory Board, Burke County Board of Adjustment, the Council on Aging, the Board of Health, and Partners Consumer and Family Advisory Committee needs someone to represent the traumatic brain injury seat.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I will encourage all citizens to participate. A lot of folks ask us about how to get involved in local government, so these are some great opportunities for you to do so. So thank you very much. There is a need for a closed session tonight, so I'll accept a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A3, 4, 5, and 6. Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. All those in favor of going into closed session signify with uplifted hand. Thank you. And if we need a minute or two break before we go back there, that will be fine.
Okay, good.
We had a proper motion that was made to come out of closed session. Gentlemen,
Mr. Chairman, I move to transfer up to $1,500 of general fund balance to the solid waste fund for the purchase of 6/10 of an acre of real property, PIN number 18414753117, Read 30062, for the Jonas Ridge Convenience Site Bog Park Project.
thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. Motion carried 4-0. Well, gentlemen, I think that finally concludes all our business tonight, so I will be glad to entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Gentlemen, great meeting.